I just flow-nazed and now I'm losing my mind.
You just flow-nazed?
I have flow-nazed.
Flow-narized.
Flow-narized.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Pig. I see you have found the swimming pool.
Hello, pre-show. Good morning.
Any Peppa Pig fans out there?
Getting ready for stuff. Okay.
Can I do a promo for Labeled?
If you want to. Are they paying us for it?
No.
You don't do it. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
want to promote what I do. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, go for it.
Good morning.
Alright. Okay.
Okay. You want to just start? Whoa, I can only hear you in one ear.
Hello?
What is happening? Check, check. That was weird.
Did you clean your ears this morning?
Alright.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to just start?
I think so.
Check. My levels feel low. Check, check.
What's up,
4.
Vetter?
Check, check. Vadar is here.
No,
Can you do
Vadar.
yours?
Vetter.
Check.
Check. Hello.
Oh, you're...
Hello, good morning. Check.
Paul, I'm using my Zoom. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. You got one.
I'm on channels 3 and 4. We are at gain levels 6.
Does he have this one?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Paul's in it to win it.
I know.
Handy Zoom recorder. Okay. Are we ready?
I do. Okay. Let's go.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning. My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today is day 35, and we're going to talk about how family of origin impacts adoption, my wife has changed, and morning mindfulness.
If you're new here, welcome. We have over 200 shows covering all sorts of marriage topics, everything from an affair, how to get over an affair, to not getting a divorce, all sorts of different things. So check out our episodes. And as always, today's show is brought to you by Audible. You can get a free audiobook on us if you visit audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage. We highly recommend that you do that. It helps us out, but it's going to help you out for sure.
That's right. And do not use this podcast as actual therapy. Although I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, we give advice, but go seek a therapist or get emergency services if you need help.
That's right. And before we jump into your questions, we're going to read a review of the day. You want to read it?
Yeah, sure. I absolutely, let's see, it's from...
5 stars.
5 stars, E.A. Taylor 20. I absolutely love this podcast. Seth is an LMFT and provides such helpful information from a therapist's perspective. Love you too, Melanie. They aren't afraid to tackle any question and they don't sugarcoat anything. Want honest marriage advice? This is a great place to get it. Thank you both for everything you do. The way I see my relationship with my husband has completely changed since I started listening, and I am so grateful. Also, next time y'all are in upstate South Carolina, y'all should definitely host a meetup. It would be fantastic. Boom! You know what? Thank you for that. First, okay, 2 things. Thank you for the review, and we will be in South Carolina for a couple of days in October. Yeah, October, so we can have a meetup at Coffee Underground. Ooh,
Coffee
on Main Street, downtown Greenville.
They do have very great what are they called? Americanos with steamed cream.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Cappuccinos.
All right, let's see. Ready.
Also, we are live on Facebook and Instagram every single day at around 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you can always join us, and that's who we're talking to. Sometimes you'll hear us talk to people. It's the Instagram and Facebook people.
That's right. So, hello, good morning, good afternoon, South Africa.
Okay, let's just jump into questions.
Hope you're doing good there. Okay, let's see. I have a question about the definition of family of origin. Is it mainly referring to the family you were raised in or your biological family? Maybe a combination of both. I have 6 adopted children. It's crazy to me how big of a part genetics can play in behaviors. Even children who have never been with birth family or have no memory of them.
So this is a great question, and it kind of brings in... So, can you set that down? So, for family of origin does mean the home that you grew up in. It means the home that you learned things from. So like
biological or not,
or it can be an adoptive home. It could be if you grew up with your grandparents or an aunt or an uncle. So it's referring to like, I learned from my parents that this type of, the toilet paper goes that way on the roll, and that maybe traveling is scary, or
you handle conflict this way.
You yell at people and you hit them. Like, it's stuff like that. That's family of origin. But you also sort of had a second part of that question where you said it's crazy how different people how these different adopted children are from one another, like genetically, and how that plays a part. So I want to talk about epigenetics.
All right.
So badly.
Go for it.
Because it's just amazing. There's all this scientific research that talks about our epigenetics, like genes are turned on and off, like they have almost like a light switch, and they are triggered by different things. And so there's been a study of families who were in the potato famine in Ireland, like literally in 1896 or something, or 76. I don't know when the potato famine was. But those, like, 6+ generations later will have a higher predisposition for diabetes if they were in the potato famine.
Right.
Because that potato famine turned on a genetic, like, string that just went from kid to kid to kid to kid to kid.
So trauma, what we're talking about here is trauma, right? And I work in Indian country. We both have that in our
You're
families.
saying the potato famine is trauma?
Yes,
okay.
It is trauma. And when in Indian country, Native American stuff that we do and are a part of, it's called historical and intergenerational trauma. And this trauma is passed down genetically without us even knowing, right? So sometimes the trauma is triggered and it turns on our genes or turns off our genes. And just because we have that trauma doesn't mean that we have to carry it. We can fix that, and sometimes in Indian country we call it blood memory instead of epigenetics. And this can be a good thing too, like carrying on those traditions or knowing, like whenever I'm in the woods or near a river or something, it's like something, and a lot of people can relate to this, it's just a calmness and it turns on. Like with hunting, or
what turns on?
Just I kind of go to a different brain space, it's like, oh, I've known this before, I know this kind of thing, and we call that blood memory. And what was I saying? Oh, and there's all kinds of research around trauma, and that book by Bessel van der Kolk.
Everyone's looking at that book.
I know, it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And our bodies carry this stuff, right? You may have not thought about it for literally 100 years, but you think about it, and we see this with Holocaust survivors and World War II survivors, and any kind of mass trauma that happens, that does get carried forward.
I want to explain it in a very weird cooking analogy. I don't know why this is what came to my head, but it is. So if you've ever made or eaten like a cake or breads that have rum-soaked raisins.
Oh, right.
So think of a raisin. It has its own flavor profile. It tastes like a raisin. But if you soak a raisin in rum, it will start to taste like a raisin and rum, right? It tastes different because it's been steeped in rum, and it actually will get like big and fat, full of rum. It's plump with rum. I want to be plump with rum. But so that raisin actually absorbs the rumminess of the rum. So that's what our bodies do, but we are actually creating the chemicals inside of ourselves. So think about it like this. And there's been lots of research about this, so we're not just like making stuff up. But if you are in trauma, for example, your grandmother was raised in England during the war. Like she had friends die from bombing their apartment complexes, and she would hide in shelters. His grandmother, was essentially steeped in cortisol, fear, stress hormone, right? So it affects, just like a raisin getting saturated with rum. Your grandma was saturated, her literal entire body was saturated in stress hormones. Why are you smiling?
Because I'm going to say she's plump, all right?
She is plump. She's probably plump with rum, that's for sure. But so she's saturated, and that anxiety causes inflammation. That anxiety causes, that's why it's like stress is associated with heart attack.
Chronic health issues.
Stress is something that is manifested in our bodies and that impacts everything else. And so when you have that, and then you, like his grandmother's body is soaked in anxiety stuff, then she has a child, that child will have traces of that anxiety.
Right.
And so it really, epigenetics is crazy when you start looking at it.
Right. So, okay, also going back to Indian country, like we talk about ancestors and stuff like this, right? So think about it. I'm not here if it weren't for anyone I'm previously related to.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So whatever their experience was, whatever they lived through, that does get passed down. It's not like, oh, boom, I have all their memories. It's not like woo-woo or anything like that. It's like, literally, my genetics are them, right? Their memories, how they were raised, their family of origin, trauma or no trauma, food or no food, famine or whatever. That is so important, and people don't think about that, right? So, and then, okay, time for having your mind blown. It's like, okay, all of my generations pass, all of your generations pass, and now, like, oh, now we're together and we create people, which is, obviously everybody does that, but it's so complex, and people just don't think about it. Why can't we get along? Well, there's a lot of reasons, right? Or why do we get along? There's a million reasons for that,
Yeah,
too.
and the other part of that, too, that I think is really important to note is that even on the sort of like relational side of that, if you have someone who, like, let's just use your grandma, for example, someone who has gone through war, something incredibly trauma-inducing, they will then, that experience impacts how they parent and are in relationship to people. It impacts how they fear things or don't fear things, or the anxieties that they have. They pass those down relationally. So we have an epigenetic biological sort of handing down of things, and then we have a relational, like, interpersonal handing down of things. So if I had a parent who was severely anxious, I will then I won't be like a totally stable person that has, like, an anxious mom. No, I will have adopted all of those anxieties as if they are like true for everyone, because that's that's the rum, the sort of emotional interpersonal rum I am steeped in, and I cannot even see it another way.
And that's not your fault, really. I'm not saying that we don't have control over our actions and choices, but if you're steeped in that, then that is going to affect you. Like we talked about, I don't know, a year ago, like after Ellie passed away, and we got 2 dogs, and they were just like neurotic, right? It wasn't their fault.
Oh,
but
yeah, no, that's a great example.
That really helped.
Oh my gosh, I have so much I want to say. Go ahead.
That gave us an insight into, like, okay, this dog is crazy. It's kind of making us crazy, and we're trying to manage that.
You know why?
Everybody has increased anxiety.
Yeah, you know why? Mirror neurons. I know we've talked about this in the past,
right,
but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and listening to the Therapist Uncensored, like the best podcast apart from ours.
Right.
But they were talking about mirror neurons, and I was thinking about that. Like, we got those 2 dogs, like different times. We got a puppy, but the puppy clearly, either it was abused or only its mother was abused, and the puppy learned all the abused behaviors. I have a feeling the puppy probably wasn't super greatly treated.
Right.
And so that dog brought so much freaking anxiety into our home because it was a ball of nerves. It freaked out all the time. It ran away from people, and we weren't doing anything to it. And then we have mirror neurons as humans. Like, if someone walks into the room crying, we don't just stand there without feeling and go, can I have a latte? Like, we don't, we cannot help ourselves but mirror what that person is doing and have empathy. I mean, you can if you don't have, what is that called when you don't have that?
Psychopaths do that.
Psychopaths don't have empathy. But we have mirror neurons, and I was thinking about that with those dogs. It's like we had dogs in our home that were antsed out, freaked out, weirdo faces all the time, and we immediately switched to that gear because we couldn't make them stop. And so then we just were like, I mean, it was so weird, but it's all back to, like, they were treated that way. That's all that they know. We have mirror neurons, and then now we're projecting that. So it's so insane and such a cool conversation to have, and I am a neuro nerd for sure.
I get really excited about it, like, as a systemic therapist, and then I get excited and go, oh my goodness, I wrote a paper in grad school and related string theory to family of origin. And do you know what string theory is? It's like, it's all tied to one string. It's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it was just, I loved it. It was fascinating. Like, oh, everything's related in this, and we can do this puzzle. But then, like, I have 2 seconds of that, and I'm like, F this. It's too much. I get overwhelmed.
It is kind of overwhelming, because then you start thinking, like, what?
That's like what nines do. Like, I get excited and go, oh man, this is going to be, forget it. That's like,
we're not having the Enneagram conversation.
Nothing
yet.
is good, is what
Nothing is good. But anyway, that was a really long answer to your question about family of origin and genetics, but it is very fascinating to sort of dive into and learn about. And there are ways that you can essentially it's like like the ways that you can heal these kinds of things are therapy, and different ways to look at it. But what are you doing? You reading?
I'm reading the question.
Okay, so we have another question. It is a very big question.
And I haven't read it yet. Usually I don't read them.
It's a follow-up to, so this is a person who had asked this question previously, so if it sounds similar, that's why. But
okay, my wife and I are going through a huge life transition. We are leaving our church, which was manipulative and borderline abusive. This change has brought on so many things, negative things, one of which is my wife having an affair with a coworker. She's become a different person, and I don't know what to do. I've done everything to try and help her get back to her old self. I cook, I clean, I do everything for the kids. I book trips that I know she loves, but she won't go on them with me. I am at a loss and feeling more and more hopeless.
No, that's the rest of the question. Sorry, that's also the question.
Oh, I've asked her if she is ready to say no to 50% of our kids' life, which, here, you read that. I can't read it.
You're holding it weird. Which will be the reality if she walks out of our marriage. She did not answer. I have asked her if our history, our kids, and our strong belief, which was one of the first things we were strong in together, that our kids should be brought up in a non-divorce situation does not make it worth working for. She did not answer. She has never said the word divorce yet. Not sure if this means something. She has only said she does not want this situation. Me neither. Sorry for many words, but I wanted to give some more background on my story. Let's see. I'd be happy to get some more input. I'm kind of lost and I'm not sure how to proceed or the next steps to take. So I want to clarify too. Sometimes we get really giant emails that we have to like
condense
squash down. So sometimes I will paraphrase things and I don't want that to offend people. It's just hard to read a giant email. And sometimes the emails have too much information and we don't want to we want to keep everything anonymous as much as we possibly can. So the thing that comes to mind right off the bat, in the very last set of sentences, it says, I ask her this, she says nothing. I say that, she does nothing. Okay. Our brains can only take so much, right? Our brains do the fight, flight, freeze thing, right? When we go from using our fully executive functioning brain to just our brain stem like lizard brain mode. Right. And we often think of when people are flooded, meaning they're like overwhelmed in their brain, that they fight. That's when even the word flooded to me, I have a strong association with, oh, okay, now it's on, I'm going to punch you. But that's what this sounds like, freeze. I think that your wife is extremely overwhelmed. You're leaving your church. You said in the email, it's like one of those kind of churches when you leave, like you're completely excommunicated.
Right.
That's a huge deal. That is not a small thing. And it's a huge factor in this. And I think this relationship that she's having with this coworker is almost, and I'm not blaming it on her brain state, that's for sure. But I think there is an element of flooding in her brain. She's completely overwhelmed and she's freezing.
Well, I think that probably the affair was going on first, and there's always reasons for an affair. And then the stuff at church is just making things 100% worse. So I like your insight into like fight, flight, or freeze. It's like, oh my goodness, this is too much. And I think probably the affair is her coping mechanism and escape. Well, right?
Yeah, it
stuff
said
is
that
so
too.
crazy. Okay, yeah, stuff is so crazy at home and at church. Over here, it's not. So I don't think any amount of you cleaning or cooking or doing anything is really, which is great. That's the same exact thing that I did when we were going through our stuff, and just trying to make everything as easy as possible, right? But that's only going to last so long for you. She has to decide for herself, and I would like to see some kind of conversation where you approach her and say, okay, everything sucks right now. You're having an affair. We need intense counseling, marriage family therapy counseling,
she's in therapy
2 days a week or whatever, and then she needs her own, you need your own kind of thing. You can't do this alone. You're not going to make her change. You can't do it for her. And any amount of, you can be soft and supportive and strong, but because I want you to be soft and supportive and strong for your own self. What I had an idea, we were talking about some pillars in our stuff we want to do. It's like, okay, you absolutely have to be strong or whole and balanced physically, emotionally, spiritually, and biologically for yourself.
Biopsychosocial, spiritual.
Because anything that's missing, if I have a slice of pie missing and I'm looking for you to be like, hey, my quarter of pie is over here, come in and,
fill it up,
insert yourself in that. It's like, well, that's not going to work, right? It's when we come together with two full pies is when it really
we need
works.
to be a buffet.
Right? So, I think a affairs are so.
Well,
go ahead.
Can I say something else about that? So something that I've been thinking a lot about lately is after reading The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, which I highly suggest y'all read. Get it on Audible. Get it for free from us. So The Power of Habit talks about. Sorry, this is really funny. Our neighbor just looked up at us and he's like staring at us right now. Sorry. The Power of Habit talks about the way that our brain creates neural pathways. So, and here's a really weird example, but it's totally from my actual life. So I have a job where I'm an audio engineer. I love music. So music is a very strong, like, positive neuro, like, feedback thing in my brain. And I get to talk about music when I work on my job with our friend Matt. Matt was in season 1 of our show. So I get to listen to music that's enjoyable. I get to put it into an episode, do all this fun stuff, and then I immediately talk to Matt about it because it's part of my job. I realized the other day as I was driving, I'm like, why am I always wanting to talk to Matt about the music I'm listening to? And I was like, oh, duh, I've created a neural pathway where I hear something I enjoy, I have to process it for a minute, and the first person I want to go to isn't Seth, it's Matt, because I've made that pathway. I didn't make that pathway on accident. It's a job. It's my job. So it's bizarre, but when you go, oh, okay, the trigger is music, the reward is dopamine, and then it's like what's the word? It's like if you saw a plate of cookies, you go, oh, I want that, because your brain saw cookies, your eyes saw a cookie, your body got ready for that sugar rush, and then it makes your hand go, bzz, cookies. Mm-hmm. That's a real thing that happens to us. Bzz, noise included. And so you want to think about, in this affair situation, your wife is not looking for a strong, steady, stable husband. She's looking for, like, endorphin, dopamine rush to flip and get out of the trauma that's in her brain right now. Mm-hmm. She's getting the potential of being excommunicated from a church. I don't even want stability. I just want, like, a totally new, it's almost like wanting drugs, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're just like, I want out of what I know. So
this could be a really good time or situation, like we talked about. Things like this are an opportunity to go this way or that way. And sometimes in marriages and life, we come to, like, a crossroads of, like, if I go this way, then it will, like, if she continues the affair, okay, you can't be married and one person having an affair, then we get divorced and that will change the kids and all this stuff. Or we go, okay, we have to stop this and let's go this way. It's going to be hard as anything you could think of, but this is the way that we're going to do. It's like when, I mean, you texted me all the time. It's like, I want to divorce you. I want a divorce. I'm like, no. Yeah. No. And 2 years were the worst years ever. However, they produced a zillion tons of fruit.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, too, one of the things in thinking about it is you're saying I'm being like this strong, sturdy husband. I'm doing everything to make my wife's life easier. Like, she's depressed. She just sits on the couch. Like, this was in the full email. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it's like that isn't what she's looking for. Although you do need to be doing these things for your children. So I want to really be clear that what you're doing is good. The fact that you're, like, being, making the dinners, giving your kids baths, like, keep doing that stuff. But at the same exact time, when it comes to your wife and her state, I don't necessarily think it's fair for you that she's like, well, I'm just decompensating. Here I go. Watch me explode.
Right.
But that's what's happening. That's what I did. And again, it's not fair. It would be awesome if you could get a therapist that would help her to see that she has a part to play in it. Mm-hmm. But another really huge factor is, what are you doing? I'm so distracted with whatever you were just doing. A huge factor of it is how can you take this and change it into, like, a really impactful, positive change. I'm sorry. When you do this arm motion to hurry up, I lose my train of thought, and I find it very disrespectful.
I'm sorry.
So I lost my train of thought, and we can move on, I guess.
Sorry.
I'm not sure why you don't want me to tell him what would be helpful.
No, I read a question. Again, please, the name of that book. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Duhigg, right? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I got distracted too. Okay. Just a thought I would share. Oh, we're going to read this one? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just thought I would share what... God, I can't even read. Just thought I would share what you guys have done for me today in my marriage. This is my morning routine. And she sent a picture with, like, sunshine and, like, writing stuff.
It says, I spend 15 minutes away from the chaos and of the kids and my husband, and I call it quote, 15 minutes of mindfulness where I write my thoughts and challenges to myself for that day. I also write about what I heard on the podcast the day before. It's crazy how carving out that time makes the biggest difference. My attitude is 1,000 times better because I get to choose my attitude before I have an opportunity to let a situation choose it for me. You guys are amazing. Keep on going. I wanted to share this. One, it's awesome. We just got this like this morning on Facebook. And having a morning routine is something that I used to think was really stupid. Like I used to be like, oh, well, that's for weirdos, overachievers. But then when I started doing it, when I started listening to the Miracle Morning, and I went through a phase of just like, I want to change, totally going to change. I'm going to listen to every audiobook I can. I'm going to just change. And the Miracle Morning was one of the most impactful and kind of growth creating things that I started doing. It was a really good
starting point, like reading that book first and then going through.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things she's saying here is that because I get a chance to choose my attitude before I have an opportunity to let a situation choose it for me. So when we don't, it's kind of weird. It seems counterintuitive if you've never done this before. But if you wake up and say to yourself, you know what, self, I can do this. I'm really strong. I'm smart. I can critically think and problem solve. I can do this. And you know what? All kids are loud sometimes. My kids are loud. No big deal.
Right.
Like in a way, you're kind of giving yourself a little pep talk based on what you've already done, what you know, what you want. And then when your kids run in and like one kid's pantsing the other one and calling him a name, you don't freak out because you have you've created this like, I know that I can handle this kind of a situation.
You've primed yourself, right?
That's a great word for it. And so I just really want to encourage you, if you don't have a morning routine and you think it's stupid like I used to think it's stupid, change your thinking.
Yeah.
Change your thoughts, change your life, as Wayne Dyer says.
That's right.
But did you have any thoughts on routine stuff or?
I think that, routine, like I've read a zillion books on routine, and it's hard to do. This is so lame because it's like, it's hard to do and you should listen to this book and listen to this podcast. Everybody says that, it's like, oh, like we highly encourage others to do and check out what we like, and I feel like our podcast is like that sometimes, and I think that's a good thing, but I don't want to be that guy that's always telling like, oh, did you listen to XYZ? But it's really freaking helpful. It's like, I don't know. It's you share what you're passionate about, and you share and you talk about what has helped you so much, and you want others to be helped out in that way. And yes, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, Elrod, was a huge thing. And he talks about SAVERS, which is an acronym for, I think, like self-affirmation, oh shit.
Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I can't think of it. You guys go check it out.
Visualization is one of them.
Visualization, water, reading, writing, and exercise is a thing. And it's so there's also tons of research. Like the first hour or the first 2 hours of your day literally determines the rest of your day. So if you like hit the snooze and you're sluggish and like jump out of bed and your face is still dirty and you just walk out, the rest of your day is going to be disorganized in that way. Right?
What's that quote that says something like, if you lose the first hour of your day, you'll spend the rest of your day trying to find it again. And I mean, I get so much done in we wake up at 5,
right?
And then from 5 to 6, I make coffee in the morning and then sit down, and usually I prepare for our podcast because there's a lot to do. Like I'm editing questions down and finding reviews and making sure things are worded anonymously and all that stuff and doing that kind of thing. But I have, and we do our like journaling, what's it called? The High Performance Planner. The Rachel Cruz Contentment Journal. Like we have a stack of things we do in the morning. Like literally, I have a tray that has like my computer, the Contentment Journal, High Performance Planner, a lined paper so I can take notes, and I get my whole day organized. Like in the High Performance Planner, the thing is broken up by hours and like motivational things that you say to yourself. Like if I could have one word for today, what would it be? And often it's like strong. Depending on what's going on. Like if our kid, like one of our kids is kind of going through a thing. And so one of my words is, I'm going to be like steady because I have to be steady. Right. So there's just really a ton of power and strength and awesomeness that comes from a morning routine. So we wanted to celebrate that you shared your morning routine with us.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage everyone to start a morning routine if they haven't. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Just don't make it complicated.
Share your guys' routine with other people. So if it's working, it's exactly. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, seize the morning, seize the day. It literally, like, the rest of the day follows. If I wake up, drink water, spend time with Melanie, check all my future day stuff out, go exercise, then it's like, all right, I'm jazzed. Let's do this kind of thing. I'm sorry for doing this to you. I want to actively demonstrate, and I know that you kind of got tweaked about that, but then I saw you kind
My
of
feelings got hurt.
I know, but you turned it around, so
Turn that frown upside down.
you did. Good job. I'm sorry about that, and thank you for doing that. I get impatient sometimes. I'm like, okay, let's go to the next question. And I watch the time because I'm also thinking about other stuff that I have to do. So
I understand that.
sorry. So you guys are awesome. Let's wrap this up. We're at 28 minutes. What else? Maybe this is what I need in my life. It's not maybe, girlfriend. You absolutely do, 110%, and I don't care whatever.
Another really great book. So I would say Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, but also High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. That's a really good one, and he has the High Performance Planner. You don't need to read the book to do the planner, but it helps you understand his process, and his story is really interesting.
Right.
So I would suggest those 3 things if you're thinking about starting it, but make it easy for yourself.
You know what I just thought of? So you, me, Melanie, everybody are the average sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, your friends, your spouse, whatever, right? And if we're all hanging out and talking about all this high performance crap that's awesome, then we're all going to be awesome, and we can be the sum of all the books we read. We can be the sum of the conversations that we have, the conversations that you guys have, and I'm just kind of pumped up about that. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to be the sum of the 5 people I know. I want to be the sum of the 50 people, the 100, the thousands of people in this group that are all working towards the same thing. Then there's momentum and energy. Yeah, and I too, in line with that, I want to say as well that this is a community where you're welcome to celebrate your wins, and no one's going to make fun of you for it. Like, there's not, I couldn't celebrate my marital wins in my own family. They'd be like, whatever, shut up. Like, just let's go swim. Healthy. That's boring.
Yeah, healthy. Ew.
I'm just kidding.
Complain.
They're not
but and I love my family, but that's just not how it works. And I don't have friends that I can really share it with either. So this is the community that we are saying, let's rise our tide. All of our boats will rise. Let's read things together. Let's challenge one another. It really is exciting. So hold on. Rochelle says, my morning routine includes AOM. Yes. That's awesome. Not only just me and Melanie, but everybody else in the group. Oh, and it says Great Deathly Hallows shirt on the day after Universal opened Hagrid's ride. Oh, we didn't even know that. I didn't know that. We went to Harry Potter studio films is what tough. We went in London or England. London. It was amazing. Yeah. Okay, read that one. Potter. You guys rock. Love your self-reflection, Seth. It's small, but an apology goes a long way, especially because it tells Melanie that you are mindful of how that may have made her feel. #goals. That's exactly right. That's right. Thank you for noticing that. Yes. I didn't do it to get noticed, but it's good. Right. Anyway. Hey, I'm sorry. Gross. How many likes? I'm sorry. How many likes? He said like it when I apologize. Heart. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for being an amazing community. Again, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes. So many of you have been doing that. It is amazing. Keep doing it. Leave a review. We'll read it on the show. It helps us in so many more ways than you can even realize. This is a lot of work. We spend a lot of mental energy and relational energy on producing this show together, and we love it. So when you rate and review the show and share it with your friends, it means a ton to us. And again, please send in your questions. So we get questions every day, but I want to encourage you. No question is a stupid one. No question is not important or too small or it doesn't matter. All questions are important, especially in marriage and relationship, because we don't often learn these things. Yes, that's getting hard for me. You've been waiting that whole time. Yeah. I just really want to encourage you. Share the show with people you know have questions. Share it with people who are engaged, people who are dating, people who've been married a long time, who are in a bad spot. We will talk about absolutely all of this stuff because absolutely all of it matters. That's right. Relationships affect everything. That's right. Thank you again. Have an amazing day. All right. Love y'all. Love you guys. Bye. Bye. Purple hearts. And because you hung out for the post show, you get a dance party. This party on the post show. It's the Deathly Hollows on the post show. Our kids call Harry Potter in England Harry Potter Studio Films, and so we can't even call it by another name. Our brains don't know, but it was really awesome.
It was fun. All right, catch you
London,
guys
England.
maybe tomorrow or Sunday.
Oops.
I don't know. Definitely on Monday. All right, peace out.
Peace of bread.
Oops.